Hi everybody, my name is Rostislav. And this is Lurnby. So Lurnby is a tool for reading. It helps you remember more of what you read by helping you kind of essentially work with the actual reading content, and also there's some tools for reviewing. So what you see here is the kind of, this is my own account. And so you'll see over here, basically at the heart of Lurnby is different articles or things for you to read. And these can be books, they can be newsletters, they can be articles from the web, or they can be content that you've manually copied and pasted into here, right? So the idea is that you want to first get everything that you're reading into one place. So there's a few ways that you can do that. So Lurnby allows you to essentially add articles straight from the web. So if you put in a URL of some content on the web, then you're allowed to tag it, give it some notes, and then you hit add article, and it'll essentially copy and paste. It'll take the text from the article, remove all of the ads, and add it into Lurnby for you to actually be able to read and interact with that content here. Now, in addition to manually copying and pasting, there's also Chrome and Firefox extensions that will essentially allow you to add articles while you're browsing without the need to manually enter those links. You can also upload EPUB files, and so Lurnby will actually take the text and the images from the book, integrate them into your Lurnby account to allow you to be able to interact with that content there. And you can also manually copy and paste things. Just recently we also added this feature where you can create an account-specific email address, and you can email things to your account for processing and being able to do that. So you can send in URLs, in which case we'll process the URLs in the same way, or you can literally forward emails and we'll take the subject line and the content of your email. So all of those are ways of getting text into Lurnby, right? So let's show you a few examples. So this here is an EPUB that I'm reading. It's called The Book of Beautiful Questions. And here you start to see a few different things. So this is the reader mode of Lurnby, and you can kind of customize that how you want. So you can change what the typeface is. You can essentially do, kind of change the visual display in order to suit your taste. So some people like to read in dark mode, some people like to read in light mode, some people like to read in sepia. Lurnby will remember this for you and it will save your settings. So basically you're allowed to kind of read the way that you want. The next thing that you see over here is that basically as you're reading, Lurnby allows you to highlight content and kind of store those highlights. So when you highlight something, you essentially have the ability to take that highlight text, add some kind of a note to it, and then hit add. And then what that does is it will process these highlights for you so that you can kind of begin to essentially see them here. While reading, your highlights will also be copied and pasted into your article notes. And all of these will come directly as the highlight along with any note, and this will just be a list. This is just a scratch pad for you to take notes while reading. So it's essentially the equivalent of quote-unquote reading with a pen in hand, right? So, or with a notebook to the side. So it allows you to essentially just take notes on anything that comes to mind. Right? And then all of that essentially just gets saved. So you always have your notes over here. You have your highlights that stick with your article. And then there's something else that you can do with highlights after you highlight them, is you're also able to, first of all, see where the highlights are coming from, But essentially, another thing that you can do is you can begin to organize those highlights into different topics or groups. So Lurnby allows you to kind of connect small ideas together. So maybe some quote that you saw reminds you of another idea, and by adding it to these topics, you're essentially starting to group ideas together. This is a process called chunking, and it ensures that you actually have a higher chance of remembering both, right? So it's saying that, oh, this is some information I want to save because it reminds me of these and these types of things. Now, at the moment, this is one of the problem areas of the application, and that I realized that the way in which I designed it doesn't scale very well, so I will be redoing this shortly because it became kind of overwhelming to figure out how to organize the information. But essentially you do have that option, and pretty soon we'll be able to change that. So that's the kind of short of it, right? So you add articles, then you're reading and highlighting the content in there. At any time, this is another part of the application that I'm currently redoing, but you have the ability to see all of those different topics that you have, and the highlights that you've added inside of them, right? So if I wanted to see, hey, these are these chunks, one for instance called anti-fragile, and I wanted to see all of the highlights that I've added to this idea, and then I can see them across the different books that I'm reading. They're kind of already organized. I can open it up, I can see where they're from, and then I can go straight back to that part of the book where they are. So yeah, and then so this is a way to kind of begin to work with your highlights. There's a number of features that we're building here. You also get to see all of the highlights that you haven't tagged while you're reading, and you can go in and you can start organizing this and beginning to build these different groups for yourself of ways to kind of work with information. There's a number of things that we're going to be doing for helping people review specifically these groups, but one feature that we recently added is the kind of the spaced repetition system. And so what it does is that it allows you to work with all your highlights, and it surfaces them for you through basically a system. So at the moment over here you see review tier 0. So these are all highlights essentially that have not yet been reviewed. These are things that I've highlighted across the different books that I'm reading, that the app is going to show me when I haven't reviewed them. Once I've reviewed something, I essentially have the option to kind of view the details if I wanted to see any notes that I've added, if I wanted to kind of quickly categorize it, or if I wanted to go back to where this was from. And I basically choose at this point. There's no, we haven't added anything else on top of this, but quite simply, do I remember why I highlighted this, or do I not remember it? Do I remember the idea? Do I remember what it was talking about? And if I choose I remembered, then it moves up a tier. If I choose I didn't remember, then I have the option to either move it back down to a tier or keep it on the same, and the app will show it to me kind of again in that same tier. And so that's how you move things up between tiers. So we go from 1 day to these have been in the 3 days ago. Then when you move down, you've got things that you reviewed a week ago, and then 2 weeks, and then that's as far as I've gotten with my own review. So things that are 2 weeks ago, so that means these are ideas now that I've reviewed, and the last time I saw any of these was 2 weeks ago, but it goes up to a year, and then it starts to show you things yearly. The idea here is to apply spaced repetition to be able to begin to remember the things that you're highlighting and have the kind of information just surface back to you so that you can associate it. It plays with each other because it's showing you different highlights across the things that you're reading, allowing you to find different sorts of insights, allowing you to kind of work across domains as you apply knowledge. But there's a number of things that I'm going to add soon, including the ability to not just review everything, but to review, for instance, from a specific topic. In the same way that, I don't want to review all of my highlights across all of the books, but I only want to review, things that I've said deal with these categories, right? In a similar kind of a filtering mechanism, say only review these 5 things right now, right? And then when I do that, the same kind of interaction. So yeah, so that's the kind of heart of it. So Lurnby is, again, it's a tool for reading. It allows you to essentially read with a pen and interact actively with the content that you're reading so that you kind of learn it deeper. There's a number of things that are built in to kind of begin to help you remember, to begin to connect ideas together, and to essentially get more out of your personal growth, personal study, personal progress. That's about it for now. There's more things coming, but this is a demo of all the things that have essentially been built to date. Thanks.